Hey kiddos, we did it. This week we introduced our last skill, working with decimals. So far to date, we have added them, subtracted them, multiplied them, divided them, rounded them, compared them, and ordered them. You guys have done such great work. Remember, next week we're doing an all decimal skill review, so don't drop that learning. Keep it front and center. All right, so I tried to make these pages build up in difficulty. So this first one that we're starting with here, we are dividing a number that has a decimal by a number that does not. So let's set this up. Remember, this is 8 8/10 divided by 2, which means that the 8 8/10 goes inside the house and the 2 goes outside. Decimal goes straight up onto the house, and most important, there are no remainders. When we're working with decimals, you are going to divide until you hit 0. There's a couple other instances when you're older that we will talk about in later years, but for our purposes today, we're dividing until we're all done. So once my decimal's up there, all I have to do is divide and make sure that I'm putting my numbers in the proper place. So 2 goes into 8 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, bring it down. 2 goes into 8 4 times, leaving me with nothing. My answer is 4 and 4/10. Again, first number inside the house, decimal straight up on the roof. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. My answer, let me write it in color, it's a little hard to see, is 3 and 4/10. For our next one, we had 8/10 in the house, 4/10, or whole number 4 rather, out, decimal on the roof, and divide. 4 goes into 0 0 times. Remember to show that you tried. 4 goes into 8 2 times, leaving nothing. My answer is 2/10. 1 and 2/10 divided by 2. I put my decimal up on the top and I start. 2 goes into 0 or 1 0 times, but it goes into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract for 0. My answer is 6/10. 38 hundredths inside the house, 2 out. Decimal up on the roof here. 2 goes into 0 0 times, goes into 3 once. 1 times 2 is 2. We subtract and bring down. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 19 hundredths is our answer. Be careful with this one. Remember, we've talked about with the decimals, the 0 in the front is the decoration, but we have a 0 in the back here. So be careful. 6 does not go into 0. 6 does not go into 3. It goes into 30 though, 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract and nothing left. 5 hundredths. That's the end of our first page. If you have any questions, please bring them with you to class. All right, love bugs, another page where we are building up our understanding. We again have decimals in the house and decimals not outside. So decimals in our dividend, but not in our divisor. First number goes inside the house, second number goes outside, decimal on the roof, and divide like normal. 3 goes into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down. 3 times 5 gives me 15, which is the closest. And 3 goes into 12 4 times. This gives me 2 and 54 hundredths. 2 and 38 hundredths divided by 7, decimal on the roof, and divide. 7 does not go into 2, but it goes into 21 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. 23 minus 21 is 2. Bring it down. 7 goes into 28 2 times, or I'm sorry, 4 times. 4 times, because 7 times 4 is 28. Nothing left, 34 hundredths. 3 and 35 hundredths divided by 5, decimal on the roof, and divide. 5 does not go into 3, but it does go into 33 6 times, because 6 times 5 is 30. Bring down my 5. 6 times 7 is 35 on the nose, 67 hundredths. 23 and 6/10 divided by 4, decimal on the roof, and let's go. 4 does not go into 2, but it does go into 23. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract for 3. Notice that this 5 is in front of the decimal because the 23 is in front of the decimal in our answer. Bring down the 6. 4 times 9 is 36. That leaves me with 5 and 9/10. Oop, there we go. We have 9 and 56/100 divided by 4. Decimal up in our answer, and we're ready to go. 4 goes into 9 2 times because 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract. Bring it on down. 4 goes into 15 3 times because 3 times 4 is 12. Bring it on down. 4 goes into 36 9 times because 4 times 9 is 36. 2 and 39/100. Over to the last one on this page, it's 9 and 5/10 divided by 5. Decimal up, and let's go. 5 goes into 9 one time because 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract. 9 take away 5 is 4. Bring it on down. 5 times 9 is 45. Nothing left. 1 and 9/10. Any questions, mathletes? Bring them with you to class. All right, friends, this is our last page where the decimal is only in the dividend. Okay, after this, we kick it up a notch. So we have 12 and 6/10 divided by 6, decimal in our answer. 6 does not go into 1, but it does go into 12 2 times because 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract 12, take away 12 is 1, bring it on down. 6 goes into 6 one time because 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract 2 and 1/10. 15/100 divided by 6. This was a tricky answer, so if you got sticky stuck on this one, this is okay. It was hard. This one was hard. So we have 6 does not go into 0. It does not go into 1, but it does go into 15 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12. 15 take away 12 is 3. I told you that we can't have any remainders. But remember that every number has an infinite amount of zeros that we can add without changing the value. And in this situation, we need to add 1 0 to finish it off because 6 goes into 35 times 25 thousandths. If you had trouble with this one, that's okay. This one was a really, really hard one. 37 and 6/10 divided by 4, decimal up in our answer. 4 does not go into 3, but it does go into 37 9 times because 9 times 4 is 36. We have 1 left. We bring down our 6. 4 goes into 16 4 times. On the nose, nothing left. 9 and 4/10. 17 and 5/10 divided by 5, decimal in our answer. 5 does not go into 1, but it does go into 17 3 times because 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract 17, take away 15 is 2. Bring it on down. 5 goes into 25 5 times with nothing left. 3 and 5/10. All right, last row. Last row. Uh-oh, we don't want to mark it up just yet. Here we go. All right, 35/100 goes inside the house. 7 goes outside. Decimal on top. 7 does not go into 0. It does not go into 3, but it does go into 35. 5 times exactly 5/100. Remember, 0 is our hero, and in this question especially, it is showing off its power because there's a huge difference between 5/10 and 5/100. Think of the cupcake expression we use in class. If I give you a cupcake, cut it into 10 pieces and give you 5, or I give you a cupcake, cut it into 100 pieces and give you 5, you're going to have two very different reactions to the amount of cupcake that is left for you to eat. Last one on this page, decimal up. 4 does not go into 3, but it does go into 33 8 times because 8 times 4 is 32. Bring it on down. 4 goes into 12 3 times. Nothing left. 83/100. All right, sweet faces, this is the last page before things get a little bit crazy. But we can handle it. We are always up for a challenge. We are mathletes. And remember, the only way to learn math is through mistakes and lots of them. So let's dive in. I suggest before you move your decimal that you write your problem because it helps you know which one you're moving, okay? So we know that we need to move the decimal outside in a way that is also moved inside, right? It's all about balance. So if I do it to the outside, I do it to the inside. Just like with fractions, if I do it to the top, I do it to the bottom. Balance makes the math world go round. So I'm going to move this decimal once because we can't have decimals outside, which means I'm going to move this decimal once. So when I do all this moving and grooving, I am left with, let me rewrite, 5 into 5 and 5/10. So let's put our decimal up on top and do the math. 5 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract 5 minus 5 is 1. I'm sorry, 5 minus 5 is 0. Got distracted. 5 goes into 5 one time because 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract for 0, 1 and 1/10. All right, let's set this one up and move some decimals. We're going to move U once, which means we're going to move U once. It's all about balance and keeping it fair. So when I rewrite, I am left with 3 being divided into 6 and 6/10. 3 goes into 6 two times because 2 times 3 is 6. Bring it on down. 3 goes into 6 two times. We did that before. 2 and 2/10. All right, let's set it up. Let's make some math magic happen. Keep it balanced. 1, 1. It's just like when we were multiplying decimals. Remember how if we moved it from the problem, we had to keep that same amount in our answer. And this just looks a little bit crazy. So I'm just going to rewrite that part. There we go. All right, decimal on the roof. Let's divide. 5 goes into 7 two times. Whoa, my brain. 5 goes into 7 one time. 2 is what I get when I subtract. My brain is going a mile a minute. 7 minus 5 is 2. There's my 2. Bring it down. 5 goes into 25. 5 times 25 minus 25 is 0. 1 and 5/10. Remember, kiddos, the only way to do math is to make mistakes. I make mistakes, you make mistakes, we all make mistakes, and this is always a safe place for them. So don't worry about it. Make a mistake, you get back on track, right? All right, friends. So when I rewrite this one, this is what it looks like. Decimal up in the answer. Notice how I kept it balanced. It's all about balance. 7 does not go into 6, but it does go into 63. 9 times on the nose, nothing left. 9/10. 48 hundredths divided by 1/100th. So if we're doing these moves, we would go boop, 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 boop. I'm also going to do it down here so you can see. Remember, there's power in that boop. We're moving it twice. We're moving it twice. So look at what happens here. And this does happen sometimes in dividing decimals. For this one now, my decimal got moved all the way to the end. So I can put it up, but look at this problem now. 1 divided into 48. I don't even need to think. It goes in 48 times. This is one of those where we can kind of take a little bit of a sneak peek and move forward on that one. That one was pretty cool, huh? All right, let's set this one up. Here we go. Move it, keep it equal. This one is another one where when we move it, our decimal goes to the end. So now we're dividing, and I'll show you up here too. We're dividing 2 into 56. So 2 goes into 5 two times, which is 4, leaving 1. 2 goes into 16 4 times. 24 is my answer. And if I was worried about the decimal, it's back here. Now we know that every whole number has a decimal, right? Every whole number has a decimal, but here's the cool thing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. I bet you're screaming at me. 2 times 8 is 16. That's what I get for talking and mathing at the same time. So every whole number has a decimal at the end, right? It has it at the end. Do we need to show it? No, but we do need to know that it's there so that if we need it, we can add it and we can add our zeros as necessary. All right, my loves, last page coming right up. Here we go. Again, we have the double decimal, but we are professional. So move it where it needs to be, keeping it balanced. 1, 1. Rewriting whole number 7 divided into 4 2/10. 7 does not go into 4, but it does go into 42 6 times. 6 times 7 is 42. Leaves me with nothing. 6/10 is what I'm looking for this one. All right, for this one, we have 81 hundredths. We're dividing it by 9/10. Keep it balanced. 1, 1. Rewrite. 9 is being divided into 8 1/10. 9 does not go into 8, but it does go into 81 9 times because 9 times 9 is 81. Final answer, 9/10. 36 hundredths divided by 4 hundredths. Notice with this one again, we're going to end up with some whole numbers. So when I move these, I end up with 4 divided into 36. And you can see that up top because our decimals both need to be moved 2 spaces. So where's my decimal? Living at the end, waiting to be needed. 4 does not go into 3, but it does go into 36 9 times. My answer is whole number 9 because the decimal's at the back. Whole number 9. 22 hundredths divided by 4/10. Move it, keep it fair. 1, 1. Whole number 4 divided into 2 2/10. Decimal up. 4 does not go into 2, but it does go into 22, and it is going to go into 22 5 times. Here's one of those tricky trickies because when I do it, I have 2 left over, but come up here. Whoops, not in that one. Come all the way up here where I wrote it. There are no remainders. There are no remainders, so I cannot leave this like this. I have to put in some more work. I have to use those zeros that are there waiting to be needed. Another 4 times 5 is 20. Now we're talking 55 hundredths is our final. All right, kiddos, 2 more stand between you and the weekend. The end is near. Here's another one of those cool ones where when we move them, we end up with whole numbers. So we're dividing whole number 2 into whole number 46. Do we have a decimal? Absolutely. It's living at the end, waiting for us to need it. 2 goes into 4 2 times because 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract, bring down my 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Decimals living at the end, but I don't need it. My answer is whole number 23. Last one is 35 hundredths. We're dividing it by 5/10. We move, rewrite and keep it fair. We now have 5 divided into 3 5/10. 5 does not go into 3, but it goes into 35 7 times on the nose. 7/10 is our answer. And with that, my loves, we have reached the end of this week's homework. If you have questions, please, as always, bring them with you to class. Have a great week.